feminism is defined as the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes, according to Oxford's dictionary in 2020. Within literary criticism, it serves as an essential lens not only for identifying oppression, but also for examining how texts represent women's voices, choices, agency, and roles within a patriarchal social framework. Poetry, given its concise nature and capacity for profound inner expression, provides a sharp lens through which to observe the evolution of female expression and autonomy. In this context, Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poem "How Do I Love Thee" is selected as an paradigm case illustrating the powerful emergence of female emotional empowerment and subjectification.
In How Do I Love Thee, the speaker, a woman, takes control of her own narrative as she confidently declares the depth and endurance of her love without waiting for her lover to ask. She proclaims, "I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace, showing that her love is both vast and spiritual." Through hyperbole and the repetition of "I love thee," Browning transforms romantic passion into a powerful statement of the woman's spiritual strength and will. Rather than being a passive object of male desire, she becomes the active subject of her emotions and words. Her love stretches through everyday life by sun and candlelight, reaches into the spiritual realm my soul can reach, and even grows from past suffering with the griefs I used to lose. These expressions reveal her deep moral and emotional authority. Ultimately, Browning demonstrates that women can define their inner lives and relationships independently of male validation, reflecting early feminist ideas and the emergence of emotional autonomy in 19th century literature.
Historical comparison: male and female voices. The revolutionary significance of autonomy in Browning's poetry becomes clearer when juxtaposed with earlier Renaissance works, a period where discursive control in love poetry was almost entirely vested in the male speaker. In Christopher Marlowe's The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, 1599, the female character remains completely silent. She is merely the passive recipient of the shepherd's flowery, materialistic invitation. Is greater than "Come live with me and be my love," is greater than "And we will all the pleasures prove." The poem's purpose is to persuade, reinforcing the woman's role as a symbol to be possessed and the male speaker's control over the discourse. Conversely, in Sir Walter Raleigh's The Nymphs reply to the shepherd, c. 1600, the female character finally speaks, but her response is one of sharp, rational, and independent counter-argument. Is greater than if all the world and love were young, is greater than time drives the flocks from field to fold. Her refusal, grounded in logic regarding the transience of time and material things, demonstrates self-determination and critical faculty. However, her voice remains a response, a compelled counter-dialogue to the initial male proposition. Compared to these Renaissance texts, Browning takes a radical step forward. The woman is the initiator, speaking first and expressing the totality of her own feelings unconditionally. She does not react to an invitation. She constructs her own declaration, establishing herself as the source rather than the object of the language of love.
The female image in Shakespeare's sonnets, William Shakespeare's sonnets, despite being the pinnacle of love poetry, also serves as a crucial point of contrast, highlighting and revealing distributions of discursive power. In Sonnet 18, song I compare thee to a summer day, the beloved's beauty in immortalized. That the power of immortalization entirely belongs to the male speaker's perspective and craft is so long as man can breathe or eye can see, so long lies this and this give light to this. The male speaker poetry, this either agents that grant eternal life to their female beloved. Similarly, in Sonnet 29, when I disgrace with fortune and man's eyes, the woman's provides emotional slaves, but her prose is defined by the male speaker's needs and experience. As gratitatory egotones not regarding the female subject in classical sonnets, women were typically displayed in the positions of objects preserved in the poetry rather than subjects who expresses herself, and furthermore, these sonnets often center on male complexity, fear of love's instability, with the woman's functioning more as a symbol than an individualized speaking agent. This underscores the contrast. Traditionally, women were depicted as the muse. Conversely, Browning not only granted the woman the right to articulate her own emotions, but effectively makes her the poet of her own internal life and love, positioning herself as the creator of the love's immortalities.
Today, How Do I Love Thee transcends the limits of the purely romantic poem and is reinterpreted as a literary manifesto of female autonomy and self-expression. The poem serves as a historical testament that women can define love and articulate emotion on their own terms, a viewpoint fully aligned with modern concepts of gender equality and self-determination. The poem successfully bridged the discursive barriers of the Victorian age, where intense female emotion was often pathologized as excess or hysteria. As scholar Simon Irving knows, Browning viewed poetry as a vehicle for exploring and challenging Victorian conventions of female roles, particularly the image of the passive, beautiful woman. The contrast between Browning's personal life, confined by illness, and the expansive, absolute nature of the love expressed in the poem further enhanced its symbolic meaning of spiritual liberation. The historical comparison with Renaissance and Shakespearean poetry solidified this view, illustrating a clear historical trajectory from passive silence to active, self-authorizing voice.
Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poem How Do I Love Thee stands as an eloquent testament to the rise of the female voice and emotional autonomy in poetry. By comparing it with canonical works from the Renaissance and Shakespeare's sonnets, a clear developmental trajectory is revealed, from the female woman portrayed as a passive object, a recipient of inspiration, to the emergence of women as the subject who actively articulates her own lived experience and love.